These 7 mistakes instantly give away a beginner photographer, and mistake number 5 will shock you because even the pros make it. Hi, I'm Barry from Photographer's Freedom. I help you simplify DSLR and mirrorless photography so you can enjoy nature and create stunning images with confidence. Whether you're using a Nikon D5200 or any other camera, these mistakes are super common and not all of them relate to camera settings. The first beginner photography mistake is ignoring the rule of thirds. Now, this should really be called a guideline of thirds more than a rule, because that's all it is. But what it does is breaks your frame up into 3 sections, vertically and horizontally. And what you then do is place your subject on those lines or where those lines intersect, and it gives you a more dynamic and interesting photograph and more professional. Look, having your subject in the middle of frame like this is perfectly fine. But what's going to happen is that your viewer is going to look directly at that subject and they're not really going to explore anything around them because there's this big subject right in their face, right? If you have, let's say you have a photo of a bird or some other wildlife and it's on the edge of the frame according to the rule of thirds, looking off to one side. What your viewer's mind is going to do is look at that subject and then see that it's looking off to one side and go, wow, what's over there? I wonder what it's looking at. Did it see something over there it wants to eat? Is there something that's about to attack it? What's over there? I wonder what's over there. I want to know what's over there, right? It creates this interest and intrigue in your photo, which makes it more interesting. And you can do this on location or in your post-processing. On location, use a single focus point, focus on the subject, then recompose with your finger half press on the shutter button and then take your photo. Now, a lot of cameras will have a rule of thirds overlay that you can have in the viewfinder or on the LCD screen that can help you position your subject correctly. Or you can do this when you're cropping. When you're out in the field, take your photo with the subject in the middle of frame and then just crop according to the rule of thirds later. Gets you your result that you want. This next mistake is something that I was guilty of for the longest time and I occasionally still make. Shooting everything at eye level. Now, what I mean by this is you're out with your camera, you're walking around, you see something you want to take a photo of, you pull your camera up to your eye and you snap off a shot from right there at eye level. Now, there's not anything terribly wrong with that, but that is the perspective that we see every day. Try different perspectives. Get down low below your subject, get up high and look down on your subject, lie down on the ground, kneel down. Any different perspective is going to make a more interesting photo because it's unlike how we normally see the world. You know, we're not normally waltzing down the street and suddenly drop face down on the ground to look up at something. That's what makes photos like this so much more interesting. Now, this is important with wildlife. You should shoot everything at eye level with wildlife. Their eye level, not yours. Get down to the eye level of the animal. You can see the difference here in these bird photos. This first one taken from a standing position looking down on the bird is fairly ordinary. But you get down to the eye level of the bird, boom, it's an instantly more powerful image. So change your perspective, change your results. And speaking of perspective, wait until you hear mistake number 4. It's about something happening right behind your subject that you're probably missing. Mistake number 3 is relying on auto mode. Now, it's fine. Look, I've done this too for maybe about 5 minutes when I first got my camera until I became so frustrated with the results that I just said, screw this, I'm changing to manual mode. But relying on auto mode is fine. It's great, isn't it? I mean, you just flick it to auto mode, you point, you shoot, and you get great photos. But you can get much better photos if you try the semi-auto or even manual modes. So what I'm going to do here is a little experiment. I'll take a photo of this tree right here. I'll do it one photo on auto mode and then one using aperture priority. Now, I'm using a 50mm f1.8 lens here so I can get a wide aperture of f1.8. Your lens may be different, but you can try this experiment at home. Now, you can see I am on auto mode there. You can see that on the top of the camera. So I'll just point at this tree. I will do focus on it. I'll recompose and click off the shot. So that's fine. It's a pretty good result. The tree's in focus. The background looks okay, right? But we can do better. Switch over to aperture priority, which is A on Nikon cameras. And now you will see that I have the aperture set to f1.8 there. You can see that in the middle, f1.8. Now, I'll point at the same tree from roughly the same spot. Focus, recompose. Take 2 shots there, and you can see instantly what an improvement. The background is a lot softer, which makes the tree pop out in the image a lot more. These are the kinds of results you can get simply by changing from auto to a semi-auto mode, such as aperture priority or shutter priority if you're shooting sports or wildlife that are moving. Or you can even go to manual mode if you're feeling really strong, right? So just try it out, guys. You'll get such better results. Mistake number 4 is forgetting the background. The area behind your subject is just as important as the subject itself. Now, I've got a tree over here that I'm going to use to explain this. So I'll just move the camera. We'll go this way, and hopefully that won't mess up my exposure too much. We'll go like about there somewhere. Just lock it off so it doesn't move. Maybe there we go. Now, so this tree here, I'm going to take a photo of this tree from 2 different angles. I'll take one going this way with that bush behind it, and then I'm going to move around so the background is further away, and you'll see the difference in the result. So I've got my camera set to aperture priority. I'm using an f1.8 aperture, so it'll blur the background just nicely. So if I just stand like here with the background of that tree right behind there. Now, that's a nice photo. It's pretty good. But if I move over this way, so I get the background much further away, it will make the background a lot blurrier, and you'll see you get a better result. So think about your background. It's not always possible to move around your subject to get that better background, but think about it. You know, if you have to move, you can move left to right, you can move up, you can move down, up, you can move up, you can move down. Just try to get around your subject until you get a cleaner background, or a background that is further away from your subject so it can be blurred out a bit more. And that can be accomplished with wider apertures or by zooming in or moving in closer. Now, even with perfect backgrounds, there is one thing that's going to ruin a perfectly good photo, and even the pros are guilty of this one. Mistake number 5 is over editing. I have been guilty of this myself. Just the other day, I was scrolling through my Lightroom catalog, cleaning out old photos, and I would stumble across some edits I'd done from years ago of bird photography, and they'd be over sharpened. The white balance is all wrong. I've done too much noise reduction or something, and you just look at them and go, what was I thinking? So subtlety is the key when you are editing your photos. Now look, you might be a fan of these over edited, like oversaturated, just over dodged and burned landscape images that you see on Instagram or all over the internet these days. I'm not, because that's not how the world looks. I like to take a photo and make the finished result look as close to what I saw with my eyes as possible. Now I am a little bit colorblind, so it may be the reason that a lot of my edits are really super subtle and the colors are kind of a bit different to everybody else's, but that's what makes you unique. Only you are going to edit a photo the way you edit it. But what we need to remember here is subtlety is key. If it looks over sharpened, dial it back. If it looks like you've put too much clarity in, dial it back. So overdo it and then bring it way back until you get the best result. Before you even get to editing, there are 2 technical mistakes that can ruin your shots before you even press the shutter button. Mistake number 6 is neglecting camera settings. Now, I realize that you don't always have time when you're out there to stop and check your camera settings, especially with wildlife photography, because it's all happening so fast. And please tell me you're not using auto mode when you're doing wildlife photography. Please, you're not, right? Use shutter priority or manual mode for your wildlife photography. Anyway, try and take a moment to just stop. Try and just curb that excitement that you have over seeing some magical thing happening before you that you want to capture. Try and back off that excitement and take a moment to check your camera settings. And when I say camera settings, I'm not just talking about your shutter speed, your aperture and your ISO. I'm also talking about white balance. I'm talking about focus mode and focus areas. All of these things that can affect a photo, can turn a great photo into a really crap one. So check your camera settings. And here's the final mistake that separates the beginners from the pros, and it's nothing to do with gear or settings, it's something simpler: rushing the shot. Great photos require patience. Wait for the right moment. Now, I understand you don't always have time. I touched on this in the last section about camera settings. You don't always have time when you're out there and something amazing's happening right in front of you to stop and take a moment, but you will get better results if you do. All these incredible wildlife photos you see on the internet that are winning competitions, they were planned. Okay, usually they weren't spur of the moment shots. Those photographers planned that going to that location at a certain time of year when that wildlife would be there. They planned the direction of the sun and the height of the sun, where the sun would be, so that they could position themselves in exactly the right spot to get those photos. Those shots are not mistakes or flukes, they're planned. So don't rush your shots. Take the time to get really decent photos. Grab your camera, get out there and put these tips into action. I'll be surprised if you're not much happier with your photos after only the first 10 minutes. If you do try them out, leave a comment to let me know how they improved your photography. Until next time, I'm Barry from Photographer's Freedom. Get out here, take some wicked shots, much better with these tips, and I'll see you soon.